Hello again. Welcome to day 2 of the St. George Religious Education Initiative here. We're reading I'll get into it. Last week, as we finished the church year, we read a selection of the hymns that were sung for the celebration of the feast of the Kimesis, the falling asleep of the Theotokos, on August 15th. We celebrated the end of her life and her resurrection and elevation to the divine council in that feast. It's the end of the church year. So this week, as we begin the new church year, we will read a selection of the hymns that are sung for the celebration of the feast of the Nativity of the Virgin Mary. So we begin the church year with her birth on September 8th, and we end the church year with her death and resurrection on August 15th. In celebrating her birth, then, we thus begin with a meditation on how the Lord began his work of salvation in the world. So, 3 hymns we'll read. One of them is from the Vespers, the 6th hymn of the Kekregaria. Today, Anne, the barren one, gives birth to the maiden of God, who had been chosen from all the human generations to become the dwelling place of the Creator, Christ our God and King of all. In her he fulfilled his divine plan, through which our human nature was renewed, and by which we were to be transferred from corruption to eternal life. That's the first hymn. The second, on this solemn day of our feast, this is the Loxastikon of the Liti, so the big procession before the Artoklasia. On this solemn day of our feast, let us proclaim with a spiritual lyre that from the seed of David, the mother of life, who dispelled the darkness, is born today. She is the recreation of Adam and the restoration of Eve, the spring of incorruption and the deliverance from corruption. Through her we have been deified and have been freed from death. Let us, the faithful, cry out to her with Gabriel, "Rejoice, O Lady full of grace, the Lord is with you, and through you he grants us the great mercy." And then the final hymn that we'll read is the Apolitikion of the feast, which we we sing at the end of the Vespers service and again at the beginning of the Orthros and during the liturgy as well. Your nativity, O Theotokos, imparted joy to the entire earth. For out of you has risen the Son of Righteousness, Christ our God. He nullified the curse and instead gave his blessing, and causing death to be neutralized, he granted us eternal life. There are a lot of things we can point out here, but let's zoom in on the one in particular, that God acts to save us himself. He comes into this world. He is born as an infant. We celebrate this on Christmas. We're all very familiar with the birthday of Jesus Christ. But we begin the church year talking not about that, not explicitly, not immediately, although it's there in our readings. But we start the church year talking about the birth of his mother. And what we see here is that God doesn't just come and save us all by himself. Or rather, he does, but he invites and he urges and he requests and he receives cooperation and assistance from human beings. We honor the Virgin Mary most especially because without her, the Lord could not become a man. He could not become human because he receives his human nature from his mother, of whom he is born. And she cooperates in this. She participates in this. She is an active agent in this, not just a passive vessel. She chooses to become the Mother of God. And the hymns that we sing then talk about this active cooperation of hers. She is the mother of life. She dispels the darkness. She is the recreation of Adam, and she is the restoration of Eve. She is the spring of incorruption. Through her we have been made like God and have been freed from death, because she gives her life, she gives her body, she gives her will, she gives her prayers to participate in our salvation. This isn't just for her. All of us as Christians, this is what it means to be a Christian. We are called not just to receive salvation for ourselves and hold it and protect it and keep it safe from anyone else, keep it hidden. We are called to participate in God's work of saving the world. We're called to live differently. We're called to be holy. We're called to live our lives as living icons, images of Jesus Christ, active in the world, bringing the Lord and his love and his mercy and his grace and his patience into the world, and being his hands to change the world. We participate in this. We're not passive. We're not observers. We're not just witnesses of the work of God. We are vessels of his action and agents. We are members of his body. We participate in this work with him. That's what we're about. That's what we're doing. That's why we celebrate the birth of the Mother of God. She is the prime example to us of what it means to follow Christ. So, any who celebrate this day, Chronia Pola, a blessed feast day, and for all of us, a Chronia Pola, many years as we begin this new year of salvation.